Hey, what's going on, all of you beautiful Dying Light fans? It's so great to be back talking about Dying Light 2. I'm here at E3 right now, and I'm so lucky to be here. I've seen a lot of things. I've seen a lot of behind-the-scenes details. I've seen some gameplay that I'm going to talk about very soon, because I know you want to know about gameplay, and believe me, I want to tell you about every detail of what I've seen, and I am going to in just a couple days. The event is not over yet, so I can't talk about too much, but what I can talk about is something that we've all seen together. And that is the Dying Light 2 E3 2019 trailer. I'm going to break it down, I'm going to point out some things you may have missed, and I'm even going to give you some context behind some of the things you've seen with a little bit of behind-the-scenes information to explain some of the things that you've seen. But let's just get right into it. Alright, so right away you can see some zombies standing outside on top of some buildings in the sun, which I'm sure will answer some questions that people had about the first trailer. You know, where are the zombies? Are they going to be seen outside? Can they go out in the sun? Well, yes, they will be outside, they will be in the sun, but since this game takes place 15 years into the apocalypse, these zombies have kind of transformed and become extra sensitive to UV rays. So they can go out in the sun, but it severely weakens them, which is why in some parts of the game and this particular trailer, you'll see some zombies standing idle and not really moving at all because they're in a very weakened state. I also just want to talk about the beauty of this world and how in-depth the verticality will be. Now, verticality was a huge part of the map design in Dying Light 1, but in Dying Light 2 it almost feels like there's a whole separate world that takes place on the rooftops and on the streets. It's almost like a whole complete world with bridges between the buildings, as if you are playing on the ground, but you're not, you're up in the clouds. It's fantastic. This area, if you don't know, this whole game takes place in a city called, well, The City. That's the name. It's a really simple name. It's meant to be, I believe, a metaphor for civilization in its entirety. The good things, the bad things. Now, there are actually 7 different districts of the city, all of which can undergo some different transformations depending on your choices throughout the game. Now right here we got 2 zombies kind of weakened and standing idle, and just as he's jumping out onto the train, you can see written on top of it, "Hope never dies." Now this is actually a sneaky little docket code. If you don't know what dockets are, if you go to dockets.dyinglightgame.com and you make an account and you enter one of these codes, you will get free weapons in the first game from your local quartermaster. You can go and redeem the dockets, get free weapons, and I believe this one actually gives you a weapon skin from Dying Light 2. And this is just Techland, another classic example of them sneaking Easter eggs into everything. Also, as he's jumping across to the train, you can see in the bottom left corner a vehicle, actually more specifically a truck, is moving forward as well. That's not staying still, that is a moving vehicle. This part actually takes place in District 2, and what the protagonist is doing right now, what the player is doing, is they are chasing down a truck. I'm not going to go into detail about why just yet, but that is what they're doing. They are pursuing this vehicle. Now, this scene actually takes place in a tavern that is named the Fish Eye. Now, the Fish Eye is a place where people come together to try and enjoy living. Maybe they drink, listen to music. It's also a headquarters for a certain faction of people, and this lady on screen, we don't actually know the character's name, but the person in real life that she's modeled after is actually an employee at Techland. They sort of just like scanned her in their super advanced facilities, and they surprised her one day when she came to the office, and they were like, "Hey, look, we put you in the game." So it was a pretty funny story. One of the developers was having a really good time telling me all about it, and her reaction was pretty priceless, apparently. But yeah, we don't know if she's going to be a love interest, or if she's just it's an important character, a side character. We don't actually know yet, but I suspect the developers are going to tell us soon, and I've got some more interviews to do, so I'm going to try and find out more about her. Don't you worry. Now, this part right here is one of my favorite parts of the trailer. Not only is this just such a beautiful composition with the light rays coming in, just the lighting, everything is beautiful, that sunset behind them. You can see once again the zombies, I believe, are in a weakened state because of that sunlight, but look at that. You can actually get a move in this game where you tackle zombies off of ledges and land on top of them. Not only does it kill them, effectively being a drop kill, but it also breaks your fall and reduces your damage. So it's a nice 2-in-1 combo there. You're killing the zombie, you're reducing your own fall damage, and it just looks so great. I mean, I loved drop kicking zombies off of buildings in the first game, and you can still do that. You can drop kick zombies off of buildings, humans off of buildings, but this is next level, and it's just, I can't wait to do it.
Because when darkness comes, I might be gone.
When darkness comes, I might be gone. And then you can see him fall down through a building. It actually looks really nice, this dynamic little the destructible environment. He does fall down into a dark zone, and that's when you see a lot of zombies. That's where you're going to see the powerful zombies. There are dark zones all over the city, zombies hiding in buildings, underneath buildings, wherever the sun can't get to them. And yeah, you do not want to be in one of these places. And you can see, to actually get around some of these zombies, there is a bit of horizontal wall running. Yes, I can confirm this is actual gameplay. This is not a cutscene. You can wall run horizontally in this game, which is a big deal. I know people wanted that in the first game and it wasn't in there. It is in Dying Light 2, and not only can you run horizontally on walls, but you can actually combo that into other parkour moves and even into attacks on enemies. So the mobility and the combat is a lot more advanced in this game, and you can combo different things together. You can combo the mobility and the attacks, and you'll learn a little bit more about that later. But oh man, horizontal wall running hype! And then you can see some scenes of the peacekeepers trying to, I guess, keep the peace by violently beating people and keeping them from entering certain parts of the city. And you've got scavengers fighting back and fighting on the rooftops. And well, I just want to talk about the character real quick, right? We already know that there's some factions and they're at war. So let's talk about the protagonist, which was revealed right at the end of this trailer.
My name is Aiden, and I am infected.
You are playing as Aiden Caldwell. He's an outsider from the city, and I know he kind of sounds like Roger Craig Smith. He kind of sounds like Kyle Crane, but the developers have confirmed, first of all, it's a different voice actor, and second of all, he doesn't know Kyle Crane, right? The character Aiden Caldwell doesn't even know that Kyle Crane exists. And so it's an important thing to keep in mind. You can put those theories to rest. Neither of them know each other. They're not related. He's not Kyle Crane's son, unless he is and he doesn't know that who his father was, in which case that would be a weird twist. So I guess that is still on the table, I suppose. But yes, so Aiden Caldwell is an infected survivor. And what the developers have said is that your exceptional agility and brutal combat skills make you a powerful ally and a valuable commodity in this dangerous world. You can achieve things no one else can, enter places no one else dares, and with your unique abilities, you have the power to be an agent of change within this decaying metropolis. Sounds kind of familiar, similar premise to Kyle Crane. He was also an outsider with great parkour abilities, and he was an agent for the GRE. I don't know what Aiden's purpose is here. And speaking of the GRE, you probably noticed this wristband on his wrist. This is actually called a biomarker. Now, these biomarkers were actually issued by the GRE. There is no Anderson in this game, I believe. So what GRE did is they introduced these biomarkers, which display and monitor the person's level of infection. And they kind of made this mandatory to wear, so that when you're going around and interacting with everyone, you can see if they have like so many red lights or they're flashing, they are at risk of turning. Because everyone in this game is infected. But if you've got all green lights, you're all good for now. You're probably not going to be eating some flesh for any time soon. But yes, so this helps you monitor your health level, your infection level, and treat it accordingly. But what happens when it depletes? What happens when everything goes red? Well, if we go back to that Dark Zone bit of gameplay, you can see that while, I nearly said Kyle Crane, while Aiden Caldwell is climbing, you can see there's a zombie that holds onto him, and this zombie is actually wearing a biomarker, and it is fully red. So what happens when our biomarker depletes as the player? Do we become infected? Do we simply die? We don't actually know yet, and I believe this is something that's still being worked on and discussed amongst the team, but I'm really interested in seeing what happens when that marker does deplete, and also how do we sort of treat it and get it to become more green? We don't know yet, but I'm pretty sure there's no more Anderson, so I guess we'll have to see what the survivors can come up with. Alright, well that's going to do it for this trailer breakdown. I hope I pointed out several things that you missed during your watch through, and I hope I've given you some context and a little bit of sneaky behind the scenes information regarding some of the things that you saw on screen. Please stay tuned to this channel. There is so much more Dying Light 2 content coming. It's ridiculous. Exclusive interviews, super detailed information, behind the scenes stuff about gameplay details. Yes, I will be talking about gameplay in large detail. I've got like 10 pages of notes, and so please do stay tuned for that. Thank you so much for watching, and have a wonderful day.